Sinbin, coming live from Pirates Rugby Club, one of the oldest clubs in the country, celebrating our 133rd birthday this year. And we're sitting here ahead of the second test match between the British and Irish Lions and the Springboks, which is proving to be a massive game. If you have a look at all the information and all the feedback on social media and in the press over the last week. I'm going to introduce you to my panel quickly. Steve Brom sitting on my left, Ken Little joining us as well. Yes, they are wearing red, so we can have a little bit of a balanced chat. And Bradley Wilkin joining us as well, current Director of Rugby here at Pirates and former head coach as well. Gents, welcome to the Sinbin. Good to have you here.
Thanks,
Thank
Brad.
you, Brad.
Yeah, thanks, Brad.
Gents, I think what we want to do is just have a quick look back at last week. But before they do that, Steve, quick introduction. Who are you? What do you do? And are you a beer or a wine guy?
Yeah, well, very much a beer guy, and thank you very much for obviously inviting us here today, and wonderful to be at the home of rugby. As you know, we always call it the home of rugby here at Pirates Club. Yeah, I've been involved in the club since 1984, and never played sort of top level of the club, played sort of around the third and fourth, but a lot of old boys. I think I came to my element in the old boys more. Various tours run overseas, along with Brad, who was a youngster in those days. He doesn't look too young now, but and just, you know, we all know this club, what it's all about, and what we're doing here today is so important and wonderful, and yeah, just a real die-hard Pirates man.
Awesome, Stephen. Great to have you here, man.
Thanks,
and I'm
mate.
sure we can understand Steve as a Pommy, but we might have a little bit of a problem with the accent here to the Irishman. Ken, welcome to the panel, mate.
Thank you, Brad.
Maybe a quick introduction and a bit of background.
Absolutely spectacular, Brad. Thanks so much. And I've got to thank the man on my right here for being here. He called me to play golf about 4 weeks ago at Parkview, and he said, "Kenny, do you want a game?" And I went, "Yeah, absolutely, big golfer." And then we got talking about the rugby, and so I played rugby basically from the age of about 11. I got my first school's Ulster cap when I was 17, and then again at 19 years of age. And so yeah, I'm a big rugby boy. My club in the UK is Saracens, and obviously I support the Saris.
Yep.
And yeah, so but this is. We got a few Saris boys on the pitch today, and this is going to be an awesome game today, Brad.
Jeez, Ken, I think it's going to be a cracker, right? I think it's going to be an absolute cracker.
Mate.
Well, because I see Max has kind of relived 1995 World Cup final. If I'm not mistaken, he had to go back to a certain house in Houghton to get the Springbok jersey, and it seems like he's done the same thing for you today. Brad, welcome to the panel, mate. Just a bit of introduction from your side.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brad. Yeah, very privileged to be here. I think it's for any rugby connoisseur today is a massive day. Having these guys, I was telling the guys earlier, the first rugby jersey I ever got, my old man bought me a British Lions rugby jersey. So it's just a pity we can't have more of these guys down. I think it would have been unbelievable
Absolutely.
Such a shame. But yeah, I've been at Pirates most of my life, and I think my highlight of Pirates is looking after Steve Brom in Argentina at 2 o'clock in the morning. But I see his wife's here, so we won't get into that.
Tell a story, Brad.
Thanks, Brad. I love you too.
Yeah, listen, we certainly won't get into those stories, though. We can
What
keep
goes
it
on
apart.
tour stays on tour.
Yeah,
Brad,
well,
you know.
nowadays what goes on tour goes on Facebook. Okay,
Well, I will tell you later if you buy me a drink.
Gents, good to have you on the Sinbin. It's an absolute pleasure, eh? And I think, Ken, I'm going to come to you first.
Yep.
Let's have a little chat about the game last weekend.
Yep.
Obviously, the stats suggest that the team that wins the first game goes on to win the series.
Yep.
Certainly most of us in the crowd that we'll see on the TV certainly hopes that's not the case.
Yep.
I think for the tour, I think if it goes 1-1, I think it's probably the best result for the tour as Springbok fans. But what was your impressions of the game last week? Did you expect that kind of game to happen, or were you looking at a more open, free-flowing game?
Yeah, Brad, I was actually quite disappointed in the first half of the Lions, as everybody has been. Obviously, it showed that we hadn't played under pressure before, apart from South Africa A, of course, and the game against South Africa A proved that we just weren't up to speed with the physicality of the team, and I think that happened in the first half last week. I'm still, from a Lions point of view, I'm still worried about the second row. I'm still worried about Alwyn Jones, his fitness, and his ability around the park, which I think is why Maro and Tom and the boys and Courtney had such a phenomenal game, and I think we were sort of covering. And I don't think, I think hopefully Alwyn's a world-class player, and I'm not denying that, but I do think that we need a fit pack.
Yep.
If we're gonna come up against the Boca, we need a fit pack, and I don't think last week we had a fit pack. Hence, bringing on a bench, and bringing Maro on to front row. Obviously, we shored up the scrum. We made some changes, and we got the backs moving, and there was more fluidity within the backs. Yeah, today's going to be interesting. You guys are going to come out all guns blazing.
Yeah.
We're ready for it. Listen to me, we're ready for it. We'll take you on. Physicality in the forwards, you got about 60 kilos of an advantage, I think. But we're still ready for it. We got a mobile back line. So yeah.
Yeah,
Bring it on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be a cracker, man. I think a lot of lessons were learned from their first test.
Yeah.
I think for me, Brad, I'll come to you. The one thing we spoke about quite a few times, man, was the way the Lions approached the first half of the tour. They were certainly playing a lot more expansive game, and they came into the first test and they just shut up shop. And they a lot more kicking. They took on the box physically. I suppose they try to maybe tie them out a little bit. And do you think their tactics pre-first test were a lot different to what they took into the first test match?
Yeah, it's, if you look at it, I mean, we were talking about it earlier, and it's almost like the Lions haven't really shown a full card. So it's going to be very interesting when Rassie has picked two open sides on his bench. He's picked Kwagga and he's picked Marco van Staden. So I think he's realised that the guys have come out of COVID. They're a little bit tired second half. He's put a big pack on, so he's going to put low pressure. Expect a big backlash from the box. I mean, you guys know that. They're going to come at you balls to the wall. But I'm backing the box on this one. I would love it to go to the third test, because then I think both coaches have to give everything.
Yeah.
And I think we disagreed earlier. I think Gatland's going to close the game down today. And Ken said no, he thinks he's going to open it up. So we basically don't have no idea what's going to happen to them.
That's why we're sitting here on the sin bin in the corner of Pirates debating this over. Steve, mate, just having a quick look back at the game last week. I think a lot of kicking went on during the game. There's obviously a lot of talking points around social media, and as we've referred to it here, as a couple of sideshows maybe. That's certainly not what we want to focus on. I think this tour is all about the rugby. And that's what we're looking forward to. So your views on last week, did it go the way you thought it would?
Yeah, in the game, I did. I think it was, we mustn't forget that South Africa are the world champions. And you don't win a World Cup, you've got to be good to win a World Cup. Yeah. And we must not forget that. And that the South Africa Springbok team, and I think Ken's alluded to it as well, the British Lions respect them, totally. I mean, it's not this is not Mickey Mouse stuff. This is big boy pants. This is what we're talking, big boy pants.
Yeah.
I think so. The way the game went, I'll be honest with you, I had the box by 3.
Okay.
I'm wearing red today. I'm not telling you till right at the end what I'm going for. But I think what you said earlier, let's forget all the politics, all the nonsense. As I said, this is big rugby. It's going to be tight again. I mean, there's no doubt. I think the Springboks can match each other as they pretty much. The result last could have gone either way at the end of the day. It was a game of two halves, wasn't it? It was a game of two halves at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I don't believe today is going to be two halves. I mean, it's going to be two teams wanting to win rugby today. I really do believe that. Benches are strong. I do love is that, what do they call it? What do we call it? The bomb squad? But now what's his name starting? What's his name? The hand grenade squad now, is it? It's not quite the bomb squad anymore. But
Steve,
still strong benches, and I think we're in for a cracker.
Yeah, Steve. I think it's going to be a cracking game. I think for me, what was lacking maybe from the Springboks last year was a little bit of leadership. Well, not leadership, but maybe the leaders in the team maybe stepping up for the big game. And Ken, I think that certainly showed from a Lions perspective last week, is that it's made up of multiple nations, all with very strong leaders coming out of that, out of those nations. And I think they ended up, certainly having a big impact on what was going on. And this is great service here at Pirates. By the way,
Yes,
we full
I love it.
COVID, all full, but we'll still have a
the
beer.
bar starts
no
getting
problem.
older there.
Yeah. So Ken, just maybe a note on that. Some of the top performers from last week, who you think stood out for the Lions, outside of Itoji. I think Itoji was lucky not to get the yellow. And then maybe the same view on the Lions as well. Sorry, the Boca.
Yeah, outstanding performances last week. Obviously, Maro, being a Saracens fan, I watched Maro week in, week out. He always puts the performances in.
Can you explain who Maro is?
Maro
for the people?
Itoji. And obviously the Saris boys, Mako and that sort of crew. I also rate the work of Tom Curry.
Yeah.
Tom is one of the most outstanding flankers that we've brought through, and we have abundance of flankers as do Boca. I was also very impressed by Tag Byrne as well.
He's had a good tour, Ken. Yeah.
Tag's had a phenomenal tour, and I think, and I alluded to it earlier when we brought Ken Owens on and Mako on. I think the forwards got a little bit stronger. Courtney Laws, for me, was probably man of the match last week.
Yeah.
I think he was all over the place. And again, that alludes to the Alwyn Jones problem. And I think they all made up for Alwyn not being as fit as he should be. It's an emotional thing that I think that Warren's picked him.
Can I
Ali
jump
Price?
in here on leadership?
Yeah.
We were talking about. Do you mind? We were talking. You want
Yeah, go.
We were talking about leadership. I mean, and I think we've had it with the Springboks over the years. Is he there for his leadership at the end of the day as a captain? Yes, not quite up for it. We had it in '95 in the World Cup. They always said Francois Pienaar wasn't the best flank. It was Tion Strauss. I'd like to understand. What you feel about his importance to be on that pitch. Is it there?
I think being a Lion, everybody's a leader. There's a lot of young guys coming through the squad, and I've mentioned the guys that like Tom Curry. You see Tom talking in the circle when they all get in.
Were you surprised when they made Conor Murray interim captain?
Absolutely, Brad. I was totally surprised.
Yeah.
Totally shocked at the fact that Murray would even be in the reckoning for that. Bearing in mind his lot of past. Bearing in mind that Owen Farrell's on tour as well. And he could have picked them.
Ken Owen. Ken Owen's on tour.
And Ken Owen's on tour as well, and I was a bit shocked about that. But again, the Irish boys, Conor has always performed, and he has performed at this level before. I was a bit shocked that he didn't start the first test, to be quite honest. As I was shocked about Farrell not starting the first test. But it proved we needed some young blood in there, and I think Ali Price stood out as well.
Yeah.
In the backs, there wasn't enough ball for the backs to stand out. We got a little bit of glimpse of what Van der Merwe can do. We got a little bit of glimpse about Stuart
It's a good
Hogg.
Scottish name, that, by the way. Great Scottish name.
Good
Van der Merwe.
Scottish
Van der
name.
Merwe's a great Scottish name, yeah.
And it needs Hamish Van der Merwe. Hamish Van der Merwe would be better.
Yeah. And he drinks Tennent's, though. That's the thing. But I do think that the backs didn't show what they've got to do. And as Brad alluded to, we were 70% of the game last week, and I think today we're going to give 100%.
Yeah, look, Brad, I think the Boks are coming up for that. I think obviously the Lions are looking to close out the series. They would love to go into the third test as a dead rubber, so to speak. They want to close this one out. I think they've chosen the side to potentially do that. But I think the Boks and their selections and what they've done have probably come out of counter that kind of thinking as well. So I think, I don't know, your views on the Boks. Who started last week, and do you think anyone maybe missed out this week as well?
If you look at the World Cup, when the Boks lost to New Zealand in the first game, and then he made changes. So actually Kitshoff started that, and he brought Beast in. So he's kind of gone with what he knows. I was very surprised last week that he didn't start the Malherbe and a Kitshoff and a Marks, because nobody can tell me that when you start a test match, you sing the national anthem, that's when you want to play rugby. To come off the bench is not lekker. It's cuck.
And it took 13 minutes before they actually had their first scrum.
Exactly. So you bring them on to dominate, and you've got 13 minutes of the game gone. So I think he's gone back to what he wants to do. I disagree with Ken because we rugby
Springbok
lovers.
versus the Lions.
I think the backlash is going to be massive from the box. I mean, it's in our blood. I think the passion today will win it. I'm going 31-15 to the box, which is big.
Jeez.
But it's because of we've got so much more to lose and they've got nothing to lose.
Cool. I'm going to ask Andrew just to remember that score, 31-15 to the box when I come back at the end. Steve, I think for me, there were some senior players that didn't step up last week. So I thought Faf was good, but he's been better. And I think Pollard probably might not have had his best possible game in terms of getting that back line going. I thought Am was exceptional. I'm certainly expecting some key battles around the park this week. There were 1 or 2 last week. I think 9-on-9 certainly had a go at each other and they were irritating them. 8th men went hammer and tongs at each other. The breakdown was definitely won by the Lions in the first test, there's no doubt about it. I don't remember when last a international team at the top tier, one team completely dominated another when it came to set pieces, particularly the scrums. I think they're generally even. So I think we're going to see much of the same today. But in your opinion, where do you see the key matchups in the game this week?
Yeah, very good point you raise. I mean, what's the old expression? A wounded Springbok, and I think this is exactly where we are today.
Yeah.
You know, you could bring the likes of the Malcolm Marxes into it. Malcolm owes a big game when he eventually gets on. You know, we know Pollard's classy. He can direct the traffic. He's a far better player, in my opinion, than the one who's playing for the British Lions. I think we know that. So he's very important to direct the traffic. You know. Yeah, the second row, it didn't really fire. You know, you look at the two we've got there. I mean, you know, Esabeth, I mean, he's a monster. He's not going to have 2 bad games. And I think that's the thing with the Springboks. You don't have 2 bad games.
No.
You don't have 2 bad games. So they're going to come back, as you say, they're coming out firing. I mean, I know, Ken, you would certainly agree with that from that point of view. And yes, we can all, you know, predict the score at the end of the day. But you're right. I mean, where do I see the battle? Yeah, I certainly see in that front row is going to be very interesting right from the start, I think, because it took a while to get going, or it went 2 different halves, as I said. So it never really got tightened in. Line-outs, obviously, was very disappointing. Faf's always there to be a nuisance, as we know. He plays his game. You know, from full-back, both the full-backs. I mean, they never, both of them, never really had runs into the game, never, you know. So, my honest opinion, yeah, I think it's going to be, the Springboks is going to be a different team coming out, and the British Lions has a lot of experience.
Yeah.
And you match the two together. It's going to be very interesting. Yeah.
Go, bro.
How do you think the vibe is in that Lions squad at the moment? Because I mean, obviously they won, so they're on a high. But I mean, there's a lot of guys that are basically just tourists now.
Yep.
How do you keep those guys motivated? Because I think a lot of them have realised that they're probably not going to get another run.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question, Brad. But I think because of the unit, and I think because of the unity that that this bubble has created, I think we're stronger than that. It is a very good question, and you know, you sit there and you're biting your nails to see if you've been picked in that first 15. There's class on the bench. These are the top 30 players in the UK, without a shadow of a doubt. You know, they left out a few guys that, in my opinion, should be here. Billy Vanapola to be one. But
that's because you're Saracens.
And that's because I'm a Saracen boy, yeah. But yeah, it's listen. The minute you pull on that red jersey, it's all about the focus on the game. It's the loyalty. It's the tradition of pulling on that jersey and the passion and walking on that field with the jersey. Every single one of those guys is going to give 100%. Yeah. They're not going to. We're not taking a back step. And just to Steve mentioned that Pollard against Biggar. I don't think we've even seen the way that Biggar's going to set this back line alight.
Okay.
I don't think either sets of backs had an opportunity last week.
Yeah.
And if it's an open game of rugby today, I think, and here's my prediction, I think the Lions will win by 2 or clear tries, converted tries. I think we'll win by 14 points.
Sure. Big call here, Ken.
I'm still waiting.
For those of you who've joined, just joined now, you're listening to the Sinbin. I'm sitting with Steve Brown, Ken Little, and Brad Wilkin. We're just chatting about the Test match ahead. Some interesting views coming through at the moment. Brad, Ken, maybe just come back to you around what we said to Brad's point around who might have left out. We've been debating and trying to figure it out. We haven't been able to find anything yet. But why was Sexton left behind?
When you watch the Six Nations, Sexton really, whether it's an injury or whatever, Sexton wasn't up to the mark. Obviously, the whole area, he didn't set Ireland alight. Sexton was left behind because I think Farrell has been consistent. In fact, if I'd have said, Farrell against Sexton, I'd have made the same call as Gatland. Finn Russell, without a shadow of a doubt, has been the best fly half in Europe.
He has been good.
But look who he's brought in now.
Yeah.
Look what we got. Look at this kid that we've got
Yeah.
that played.
Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just, going back to all the oldies, I wanna see exciting backs. I want to see exciting runners. I don't want to see all this kicking game. Steve and I talked during the week about how many kicks there were. I mean, is it in a game like this? I think there's too many. The last Test
I
game,
agree.
there was too many kicks, and I think the Lions have used that tactic for the last 5 games with some degree of success. It's not going to happen this week, I don't think.
Yeah, Ken, I think certainly, like I said in the beginning, I think the Lions played a very different game that I wasn't expecting to come in. The Gatland Kiwi coach, they started playing a lot more open rugby, I thought, when they came. Certainly the pre-test games, I thought it was very much there. But they definitely played a different tactic in the first test, no doubt. So it's interesting to see what comes out today. Brad, let's turn our attention to the box. We've got a Lighty coming out of Leinster. Visa starting today at 8th man. There's all talk about who we should have at 8th man, and we all know Vermeulen, if he was fit and healthy, would be there. Great leader on the team, and I think he's probably worth 10 to 15 points on his own. But Visa's come in. I personally, I think we watched it together last week. We weren't disappointed with Kwaka. We thought he did a good game, and Sia actually had probably one of his best games in the box jersey, in my opinion, as well. But how do you think Visa's feeling right now, and what's it looking like in terms of him at 8th man?
I suppose every South African schoolboy's dream, eh? It must be amazing. I'm very nervous about that, Brett. When Dwayne went down, I think every Springbok's heart dropped into their butt. It's a massive loss, and just the leadership he brings, and he carries. He's a big. I was very surprised when they chose Kwaka, because Kwaka is not known to carry.
Yeah.
His work rate is good, but we've got a lot of workhorses. We need boys to carry. When you run onto a field, you guys will know you want 3, 4, 5 of your pack carrying. So it'll be interesting to see what Visa does. I personally probably wouldn't have gone with Visa. I would have gone with the Marcel Coetzee. He's been there. He's been doing everything overseas. I mean, he's been one of the top rugby players in Europe for the last 3 years. Why he's not in the side, heaven alone knows. Why go with a youngster who is untested? But I'm not the Springbok rugby coach, so what do I know? But I think even these guys, I think if they had seen Marcel Coetzee in the mix, they would be a little bit more worried than having a Jasper Visa.
Thinking about the game a little bit differently.
100%.
Yeah. Brad, I think for me, you look at the locks that are going out there for the box today, 2 Monster Oaks. Maybe not had their best game last week, although you have a look at the stats. Evan was one of the best tacklers. He made one of the most tackles along with Peter Steff. I think in the context of 15-man, I think Kwaka did a really good job against the Lions, but I think he's not going to be that big ball carrier, and they targeted him. There was a lot of kickoffs that went back to Kwaka. I think he did exceptionally well to take them and set up and carry on playing. Just your view on maybe how the Boks are going to play today, Brad. Do you think they're going to come out the same old 2019 World Cup winning style, or do you think we're going to see maybe something different to surprise the Lions? Because Gatland must be going, they're going to come and kick, we'll be ready for that.
You got to give Mapimpi and Colby a go at these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, Van der Merwe is the one thing when people spoke about his selection, the one thing that guys said was he probably wouldn't make the tour because of his defence. Now he's starting in the Lions test match, and we haven't tested him. So whether Russ is going to do it, I think Russ is a good enough coach, and Ninob is a good enough coach to turn around. The difference is, and Ken also said earlier, is you've got to create that space in order to give Colby those opportunities. And if you aren't dominating up front, that space is not going to happen. Yeah. So they've got to dominate up front. They've got to give Cheslin Colby a run at Van der Merwe. And you've also got to get a run at Harris, because Harris got found out in the SAA game against Cheslin Colby. So if Russie's looked at this, whether he's going to have the chutzpah to go out there and do it is a different story. But again, what have we got to lose? We've got to win this. If we don't win this, we're in trouble.
The other thing, Brad, is that we were chatting about it earlier today. You know, they can match each other. In the forwards, they can match each other. No problem. You know, you can say the back line is it going to be one today on an individual? And I still feel there's 3 players who can do it. Colby's certainly one of them. We saw it in the World Cup. Van der Merwe, you know, we haven't really seen him yet. Yeah. Could come down. You're 100% right. We want to see them. We want to expose them. And another thing you bring up, I just wanted to say something you bring up, is the fact that it's quite important to understand from a. And we've had one of my daughters is friends with Malcolm Ox and so on. And Malcolm's dream, it seems, was always to play against the British Lions. It was always his dream.
Yeah, imagine.
And he gets one crack at it. You know what I mean? The Springboks get one crack at this, pretty much. You know, 12 years. I mean, I don't know who the other 20-year-old who might make it in 12 years' time. I mean, I'm going to be in a wheelchair, but the fact is...
Well, are you going to be 80 at that stage?
I'll still be drinking here. And if you've got me on here, then you should be worried. But the fact is that they get one crack at it.
Yep.
And that must be the motivation, one of the motivating factors for Rusty to be saying, this is it, boys. You're World Cup champions. This is the final. And it's going to be that to me is quite exciting as well.
Guys, there's been some amazing series between the Lions and the Springboks over the years. I think they're sitting at 24 games, or 24 games they played against each other. The Boks, thank God, are still in the lead from that perspective, and the Lions are going to do a bit of a catch up. There's a lot of history. I'm looking at your jersey that you're wearing at the moment. It says 1888.
Yeah, we've got to take them back on Monday,
yeah,
Brad.
no worries. But
Steve hasn't paved them.
so certainly, you know, sitting in an environment like Pirates, we understand the value of history and tradition. What I've been enjoying is watching the jersey handouts from the Lions and how they handle that. I think the Springboks did an amazing way as well. We were very privileged to be a mate with a World Cup winning Springbok in 1995, who gave us a little bit of insight behind the scenes and what was going on. But I think for me, you've got such a big build-up that's come up to this test match, this tour, this series that kind of started happening 4 or 5 years ago. And many people were planning on traveling here, and we were expecting massive crowds at the stadiums. We know here we were expecting 2,500, 3,000 people at our stadium during that period of time.
Do you remember our pre-match plans?
Yeah, and you know, we're sitting with 150 people. Yeah, listen, there's a vibe in the background. I'm sure you guys can all hear it.
There's always been a vibe at
We're going
Pirates,
to come
you
to
know
the
that.
crowd shortly and see if there's any questions there. But for me, how are those players feeling, Ken, when they walk out to what is, to your point, Steve, probably a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to put on the red jersey, the green jersey, to play against the Lions, to an empty stadium?
Yeah, Brad, that's the saddest part of it, isn't it? You know, as an individual, as something that you dreamed of from a kid, as Brad alluded to, you know, you work through your school, you work through your high school into your club rugby, and it doesn't matter what jersey you pull on. You walk out there on a Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon, and it's all about just pulling the jersey on. But this is special. This is so special. I'm just very disappointed, obviously, as a Lions fan. The sort of stuff that we had planned, the people that we had planned to come out here, showing people South Africa, showing showing the good side of South Africa, not the bad side. And what rugby does, rugby shows the good side of South Africa, from the club rugby that you guys promote, right through to the Baka, who are monumental in the rugby world. And I'm just sad that even a lot of my mates that have never been to South Africa were looking at this test, looking at this series as the opportunity to come and have a look at South Africa and what it can do. Yeah. And from that point of view, I'm very, very sad. Yeah. But I'm delighted that things gone ahead. Being a realist, I actually think that I would have delayed it a year, because this is all about the fans. A Lions team without the fans, a Lions tour without the fans, isn't really a Lions tour. you know, it is all about, you know, the boys. Steve's been to Australia.
Yeah. Not the
You
same.
know, it's not the same.
not
There's
the same.
something missing.
Ken, 2009, we had a tent up in the middle of the park here behind us, and Wellsford, the manager of the club, and Steve and a whole lot of other boys were literally running beers back and forth because we couldn't keep up with
It's
the
fabulous.
Brad,
Fabulous.
we were here, man. It was one of the most amazing experiences ever, Brad. And maybe your view on that quickly, but do you think the Boks are they're missing their fans after the first game? Obviously, that's maybe a dumb question, man, but.
I think it should hope as a professional rugby player that you probably look past that. And the record books are going to, when our kids look at these games, they're going to look at what happened on the field. But I mean, you can see it. I mean, 80% of the stands would have been red. And just
It's
that
the
vibe.
famous picture in Pretoria. We were looking at it today in my house. It's a sea of red.
Yeah.
That whole stand is a sea of red.
Yeah.
But it's, it is what it is. And you got to go
Yeah.
out there and win a rugby game.
It is
And
what it
the
is.
history books are going to, it's not going to say how many people in the stands. The history books are going to say if you had won, if you'd won a World Cup and if you'd won, if you'd beaten the British Lions. And I think there's not many players that can say that. So
Yeah.
I think it goes a little bit higher than that. It's very sad. It's horrible. And we would have, this place would be packed. It's packed now, but I mean, it would be triple, 10 times.
Yeah, well, we saw that 4,500 people here, Ken, for the World Cup final, man. It was unbelievable.
But there is a bonus here, though, because we can get a beer quicker now.
And the other
Steve,
thing,
Steve, you better go
Brad,
out the back exit because no one's going to be standing at the door there, mate. And Aaron.
I
I'll
haven't-
mention it.
you didn't give me an opportunity to talk about the 2019 final, which I actually think South Africa were lucky.
Okay.
Yeah, you met England.
probably why we
On,
didn't
you
give you an
met England on a bad
opportunity
day. We'd already hammered the All Blacks, and Rossi won the day. And I think, and unfortunately, we haven't seen South Africa play any sort of game ever since that to that quality. So today's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And if you do turn up and you take us on in the forwards, you'll win. If you take us on in the backs, you'll lose.
Yeah, Ken, listen, I can guarantee you now, man. For those who know me, I think the English played their final against the All Blacks in the semi-final.
Yeah,
100%. And I've been in the mix here wearing a different colour jersey and taking a pretty confident that we've just won the first game against the Springboks as a Kiwi supporter. But that second game when the Boks come back, man, geez, they come back and they come back harder. And you never put a Bok in the corner. Simple as that. And they're going to come out fighting. And I think there's a lot of points to be proven today. I think the senior leadership in the Boks would have known that they didn't necessarily have the best game. And they're just looking to ramp this up. And then, you know, we talk about it in 95, we talk about it in 2019 when they mentioned 60-odd million people behind the Boks. I think today it's going to be just as strong and the people are going to be coming flooding for it. And I'd love to be able to see. Just before we start wrapping up, what do we got? 28 minutes before the kickoff. We'll start wrapping up. I'll just ask Andrew behind the scenes if there's any questions coming from the forum or anything like that. If not, thank God, we don't have to go there.
Yeah.
All right. What is it? 35-15?
31-50.
31-15. Okay, Ken.
2 converted tries difference
2 converted tries.
to the Lions.
Okay. All right, you heard it here first.
This is difficult, Brad. This is very difficult because, as people know, I'm in the business, and from a commercial aspect, I need the Boks to win. But I am, having lived here for so many years.
He's about to get lynched by all the
I
Lions
know.
supporters
I'm
standing
happy to
behind
wear
you,
the red shirt. Ken's going to give me a hard time for the next hour and a half. I'm going Boks
I'm going
by
to tell
3.
them your goal
Boks by
score
3.
yesterday.
And I want to
Stephen.
tell you, if I can just say this, the boys in the UK, the guys we know, like the Foxtons and the Ewan Smiths and one or two of the others, they're all going Bokke today.
Is it?
That's a very interesting fact with the boys overseas, I'm telling you.
What you going, Brett?
Winterbottom hasn't come out with a... We didn't actually ask.
Yeah, well, listen, we'll get a proud pirate in Winterbottom up to the next one. We'll have to next up.
But Brad, I'm going Boks by 3.
Boks by 3. Brad, I'm going 28-21 to the Boks. Yeah, to the Boks.
So poor old Ken's going to be upset later.
No, look, I think you asked me why. I think the Boks are going to win today because they have to. And I think they're going to be coming out firing. They've dealt with everything during the week. They've had a look at it. They've had a look at what this Lions game is actually about. I think they've had a proper look at what the tactics they're going to be playing this day. I don't see the Lions changing a lot because they want to close out the series, Ken. So yeah, I reckon the Boks are going to come firing for the first 20, man, and it'll be 28-21. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for joining us for this pre-match build-up. You've been watching the Sin Bin. Enjoy the game. I think it's going to be a cracker, probably one of the best between the two nations in a while. Thanks for joining us on the Sin Bin, and we'll catch up later. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Cheers,
Brad.
Cheers.
When do I tell my Argentinian story?
Well done, Brad.
We are.